This small village, a mile from the Indian border, a triumphal arch with the motto, Joy Bangla, Long Live Bengal, and a crowd of 1,500 villagers awaited the first public appearance of the Bangladesh cabinet. With some ceremony, the acting president, Syed Islam, took the salute, then inspected the guard of honor. With the West Pakistani troops just 20 miles away, it was a gesture of defiance. In an atmosphere heavy with emotion, the green flag of Bangladesh was raised. In the absence of Sheikh Mujib, captured by the army, it was left to the acting president to make an impassioned appeal to the countries of the world for recognition and help.
From the opinion of the world. So I request my foreign journalists to convey to the respective nation that if liberty has got any sanctity to them, if democracy has got any value to them, as if human dignity has got any sense with them, then I level to the civilized governments of the world, the big and the small power, the Afro-Asian countries and to the European countries, to realize it, to recognize it, to come to our help and to do something positive to elevate the misery of the unfortunate people of Bangladesh.
Despite this impassioned plea, there's been no rush by foreign governments to recognize the new state.
Now we are fighting front to front, and if we are defeated, then we'll go for guerrilla tactics. Jai Bangla! Jai Bangla! Jai Bangla! Jai Bangla! Jai Bangla! Jai Bangla! Sheikh Usmani! Zindabad! Usmani! Zindabad! Usmani! Zindabad! Usmani! Zindabad! Sheikh Mujib! Zindabad!
Even if it succeeds, it will be nothing but bunch of quislings. We are not allowing the communication to be restored. Because in any country, if you want to start the trade, the first thing is communication. We have not allowed him to ply the trains. We have not allowed him to run the roads. Bridges are being blown. This is one aspect of the economy, that is the communication.
Sunday, the 27th of June, 5:15 p.m. Our patrol en route to an act of sabotage. The operation is carefully planned, and there are patrols on both flanks. Our group paused to finalize their plans at a disused railway station on the main line between Chittagong and Camilla.
Bangla Bridge is district border. ওই সাইডে আরেকটা সেকশন যে পাইলনটা ব্লো অফ করা হবে সেই পাইলনের পিছনে ওখানে আর আরেকটা রাখবেন এইদিকে লেফট সাইড ওই এক্সপ্লোসিভ নিয়ে যে পৌঁছে যাব তারপর সঙ্গে সঙ্গে আমরা সবাই রওনা দিয়ে দেবো হ্যাঁ আচ্ছা তোমার টাস্ক দিছে বুঝছো তো শোনো ডিস্ট্রিক্ট বোর্ডের রাস্তাটা আছে না রাস্তার ওখানে পজিশন নিয়ে থাকবা
Captain, could you describe the fighting in your sector?
In my sector, it's just like fighting any other war.
What do you mean?
I know you are convinced, or probably you foreigners especially, you have been hearing a lot of news and propaganda by the Pakistan radio that it's just a border skirmish. But yesterday you have seen, you went with myself and you saw this 5mm howitzer, 25-pounder and 120mm mortars. They are all landing. In border skirmish you don't have that. And probably with that telescopic lens you might have seen some Pakistani troops also. They are bunkers deployed. And we are fighting a regular warfare. How can you call it a border skirmish? And I wish you go back and you explain to people this is a full-fledged war. And we are just holding in this base and we go and we play hell into them. I go inside, right inside, I go behind them, I go on their side, I go anywhere I feel like. I kill them.
Captain, it's now 3 months since the fighting started.
Yes.
You've been existing on the ammunition and the weapons you brought out with you.
Firing position.
How much longer can this continue?
Well, it will continue as long as we have the resources and as long as we carry on capturing their ammunition. And of course we expect that some country will come to our aid. At least you have come, you have seen how the fighting is going on. And if somebody comes to our aid, only thing that we need is arms and ammunition. Arms we have to maintain them, but we need some heavy weapons and ammunition. If that is the thing we get, then there is no problem, we can continue fighting. And if we don't get anything at all, well, you know the condition, what is happening in Sudan. They don't have any arms and ammunition. They are fighting. They are fighting with sticks. They are fighting. They are adopting different tactics. So that's what we are going to do.
But Captain, about you personally, I mean, what about your family?
But my family, in fact, I don't know what is happening to them. I have given up because I have seen the fate of other families. When an officer has deserted and joined this Mukti Fauj, what happened to their families? They were all captured as prisoners and kept in the cantonment, and I don't know what has been done. So knowing all this, I ran away. You see? So I gave up. I just thought about God, whatever God does, and that's all. And I left. So I have no right to think about them, you see. Since I have sacrificed them, so how can I think about them now?
Another base camp deep in the jungle. Major Khalid debriefs his officers and plans further operations. As most refugees from the war are Hindu and the West Pakistan Army is Muslim, there is a danger that people might think that this is a religious war. But every one of these guerrillas, in fact every Mukti Fauj soldier I met, was a Muslim. In spite of incessant Pakistan allegations that India is arming the Mukti Fauj, supplying troops and expert saboteurs, I saw no Indian troops nor one piece of Indian equipment inside Bangladesh. In any case, the guerrillas seemed quite capable of sabotage themselves. There is no doubt that the guerrillas are receiving sanctuary from the Indians. They cross the border to rest and maneuver their positions. But that, as far as I could see in the area I was in, is the limit of Indian help. The Pakistanis complain that they are being mortared and shelled by Indian guns across the border. The only shells I saw crossing the border were going the other way, from Pakistan guns. And the only mortars I saw fired against Pakistan army positions were plainly fired by the Mukti Fauj from positions clearly inside Bangladesh.
Into their position. And right.
Okay. Talo, dana. Badi darak. Talo, bas. Tiger hat. এর হচ্ছে দূরের দুশমনের জন্য দূরের দুশমনের জন্য কি হয়েছে চলো শীষ লাগাও ঠিক জগো সামনে ওইরকম থাকছে অত চলছে কেন
একদম সাথে সাথে ভালো ছিল ডানে শত্রু হ্যাঁ বলেন না ডানে শত্রু পিছনে শত্রু ডানে শত্রু পিছনে শত্রু বাঁ শত্রু পিছনে শত্রু ডানে শত্রু পিছনে শত্রু
বলো না স্যার
পজিশনে তো একদম রাইফেল এই জায়গা থাকবে এই জায়গা এই হ্যাঁ আর নিচে হবেন তো পানি একদম দোকানি পারে একদম
বল্লায় লাখ লাখ টাকার যে সম্পত্তি নষ্ট হয়েছে, ইনশাআল্লাহ আগামী 9 মাসে আমরা এই দেশকে পৃথিবীর সর্বশ্রেষ্ঠ উন্নতিশীল দেশে পরিণত করব। ভাইয়েরা আমার, ইসলামের ঝান্ডাকে সামনে, তাই আপনাদেরকে আমি বলি, আজকে আমার দুঃখ হয়, আপনারাও বাংলাদেশের মানুষ, আমরাও বাংলাদেশের মানুষ, কেন বল্লার মানুষকে এদেশের মানুষ ঘৃণা করে? কেন বল্লার মানুষকে দেশের মানুষ অন্তরের জ্বালা নিবারণ করতে না? জলদি চল,
We had strict orders not to fire. But once the Indians captured inside this area,
Indian troops before all this began.
they have been all along there.
And they're not the current dispositions of the Indian troops.
No, they have gone back. They have been pushed back.
The Indians were in.
The Bengalis of East Pakistan have paid a heavy price in blood for trying to break away from West Pakistan and forming the independent state of Bangladesh. The battle for this crossroads at Jessore, a town on the road linking Dhaka, the capital, with the Indian border, illustrates the ruthlessness the West Pakistani army has shown ever since President Yahya Khan ordered it into Bangladesh at the end of March. The defenders here said they fought the Punjabis with what weapons they had, but there were no signs of any Punjabi dead. The local Bengali commander describes what happened.
The Punjabis were here and they took position against the Liberation Army from here, and they fired the 3 inches mortar from here, and they killed so many innocent Bengali Liberation Army and the innocent Bengali people of the citizen of this town.
But they aren't here now.
And
what happened?
we resist them. We resist them with our weapons, and just at 4 p.m.
4 a.m.
4 a.m. Yes, sorry. 4 a.m. they retreat from here, and when they retreat, they burnt all the houses of the innocent peoples, innocent Bengali peoples, and killed brutally to them through their bayonets and through firing.
Everywhere in Jessore there was evidence of the savagery with which all civil wars are fought. Here in the courtyard of one villa, an old man and his family, 3 women and their babies, were bayoneted to death. Pakistan went careering down the road to civil war in the last week of March when the Bengali leader Sheikh Mujib and his Awami League party failed to get the terms they wanted from President Yahya Khan. In the early days of the secession, the Bangladesh Liberation Army, ill-equipped and badly organized as it was put up stout resistance against the superior Punjabi forces, but the Bengalis' success was more apparent than real. For more than 2 weeks, President Yahya kept his troops bottled up in strongholds, permitting only skirmishes with the Bengalis. Then, springing from their fortifications, the Punjabi regulars, reckoned to be the toughest fighters on the Indian subcontinent, smashed simultaneously into a dozen or so Bengali towns. The civil war was virtually over. This was Dhaka, the capital of East Pakistan, a few days after the army had moved in to crush the Bangladesh secession. Eyewitnesses said 24 entire blocks of the city had been flattened, and
this complete area from this roadside, and after that
the Indians say these are their forward positions, slit trenches dug in alongside the main Jessore road and the railway where they cross the border. Officers told us that the area was frequently the target of Pakistan's shelling and small arms fire. Are these positions ever shelled from the other side?
Yes, with artillery also, 105. Just on the other side of the road, they shelled it with artillery, and a few days back they shelled it with mortar, 81 and 3-inch also.
It seems surprising that with enemy fire so frequent, journalists were being allowed to clamber about on the Indian positions. We were even permitted to wander through the old border post itself, over which flew the faded flag of Bangladesh. Was this really the Indian front line? Or were their troops 5 miles further on down the road attacking the village of Navaran, as the Pakistanis claim? As if to support the Indian story, a few short bursts of firing made the journalists jump, but it was hard to say where they came from. They alone were certainly not going to prove that Pakistani soldiers were directly opposite us. There's no argument that these Indian guns are firing into East Pakistan. We've heard them ourselves. The Indians say that when Pakistani troops fire at them, they fire back. Without going there oneself, which both the Indian Army and the Bangladesh guerrilla fighters are not encouraging at the moment, it's impossible to say whether the guns are also used in support of Indian troops inside East Pakistan. Richard Lindley, News at 10, Petropol border.
Are you coming to my location? Over. 1-5, Roger out. 1 over. 1-5 West Tiger, over.
तुम रजा करे पक्का रजा करे नहीं कोई गांव का कोई आदमी बोलेंगे जो हम रजा कर तो आपको जो खुशी है आप कर दीजिए
And what will you do with him?
Now we can do nothing, but we can suggest, we can do anything him, but command commander will come, then he suggest.
He will decide
what he will do, what can do.
तुम किधर जा रहे हो?
বাবু আমাদের বাড়ি এই জায়গা അവരങ്ങനെ പോയി റിപ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്യും അതിനുള്ള ഫോട്ടോ তুমি എന്താണ് പിടിക്കാൻ சொல்றது சொல்லுங்க पैसा तुम्हारा था नहीं मानते अभी तक
Hello, Dhanraj.
You will find the tanks on the road. You will find the tanks on the road. Pointing the guns towards Kulna. Don't attack the tanks. After the tanks, 2,000 yards to 3,000 yards, you will find on the port and starboard side enemy concentration. Go in for those. You are flying towards Jessore now.
Take one, you accept that in office.
Record a target uniform 4482.
They've got a lot of American influence. These are Pakistani mines.
It was a fierce battle we fought against the enemy. He gave a very strong opposition, and after fighting for about 5 hours,
What was the time?
we captured this area. Bullet heads want to see, I got a bullet mark on my back.
Yes, I'd love to see it. Yes. You were retreating.
What? What did you say?
You were retreating.
Yeah, I got
Move your hand,
it.
move your hand.
Get on my spine.
Yes, yes.
Wait.
কাঁদিস না
কটা আছে রাস্তার উপরে?
সঠিক তো বলতে হবে না কটা আছে।
চোখে তুমি কটা দেখছো?
তোকে আমি স্যার ওটা জায়গায় যাইনি।
শোনো না
আমরা পল্লী গ্রামে তো থাকি স্যার।
তুই জানোস না কটা? কিছু জানোস না? কোনো দিয়ে দিবে সবাই না? হ্যাঁ
সেটাই বাড়ি না বাড়ি না খবর বলতে
তোরা চাউল পাস না?
ভাষা কি আছে এই
Before the Indian Army can think about leaving Bangladesh, 93,000 Pakistani prisoners of war will have to be transported to India. 25,000 of them are here in the Dhaka cantonment getting ready to leave, guarded from possible Bengali vengeance by the men with whom less than a fortnight ago they were at war. The Indian Army's Chief of Staff, General Sam Manekshaw, who's been paying a 2-day visit to his troops in Dhaka, says that at the moment some 3,000 prisoners of war a day are being taken out of the country. He hoped that by the beginning of next month the daily average would be 10,000, and that in any case by the 15th of January all of them would be in Indian prisoner of war camps. By that date too, the General said, he would have reduced Indian armed forces here by 25,000. But they still can't all go home. For one thing, they're the only agency in the area capable of seeing that the 10 million Bengali refugees now in India get safely back to Bangladesh. For another, Indian soldiers, no matter how much the Indian government likes to play this down, are the only people capable of keeping law and order here and protecting minority groups from Bengali retribution. In addition, the army is safeguarding the lives of those Bengalis who ran the civil administration for Pakistan. The Bangladesh government is setting up a war crimes tribunal to try Dr. Malik and his colleagues. Will the Indian army be told by Delhi to hand them over? I asked Mr. D.P. Dar, Mrs. Gandhi's special envoy to Bangladesh.
We are on the horns of a dilemma, I must admit to you. On the one hand, we do not want to do anything which is against the norms which is, of international behavior. Nor do we want to do anything, on the other hand, which would even remotely impinge on the sovereign rights of the Bangladesh government and Bangladesh state.
What does that mean in practice? Are you going to hand people over to a war crimes tribunal or not?
That means, for the time being, that the position is being legally examined.
As any victorious army would be, Indian armed forces are now deeply involved for the foreseeable future in the way this new country is going to develop.
চিকারগাছা, শার্শা আর মহেশপুর, কারণ এই তিন থানাতেই আমার সব থেকে বেশি যোগাযোগ ছিল এবং এই তিন থানাতেই আমার সব থেকে বেশি অ্যাক্টিভিটি ছিল, আর এই তিন থানা সব থেকে ভালো কাজ করছে।
সেই কমিটির মাধ্যমে আপনারা প্রত্যেক